Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Pottermore is a wonderful resource that allows us to continue our journey through the Harry Potter universe, and one example of this exploration beyond the 7-book series is the creation of a non-canonical character named Mafalda, who never appeared in the pages of the books. Yes, it's true. Rowling seriously considered introducing this character, but Mafalda didn't make it into the final version of the book. Mafalda is the daughter of Molly Weasley's squib cousin and his muggle-born wife. Rowling intended to show that a child with strong magical abilities can be born into a squib's family. Mafalda was meant to appear during the events of The Goblet of Fire, when Molly's cousin realized his daughter had magical abilities and needed to go to Hogwarts, which led to Mafalda spending the summer with the Weasleys to prepare for her Hogwarts journey. The only problem was that several years ago, Molly's cousin had been very rude to her, creating tension between the relatives. By the way, if you remember, Ron mentions Molly's cousin in one of the books, saying, "We don't talk about him in our family." Ultimately, the not-so-ideal Weasley relative realized he would need Molly's help because Mafalda had to be introduced to the magical community where she would live and study. So Mafalda spent the summer at the Weasley household and, in 1994, entered Hogwarts, where she was sorted into Slytherin. This is where things get interesting, especially in terms of how her relationship might have developed with Draco Malfoy, who saw the Weasley family as blood traitors and could have extended his negative feelings towards their relative, Mafalda, who, like all the Weasleys, had red hair. As for her personality traits, Mafalda was supposed to have quite a difficult character, which wasn't liked by everyone around her. She was ambitious, curious, and strove to be a leader within her immediate circle, likely contributing to her relatively good academic success. Rowling's drafts include a comparison between Mafalda's academic performance and Hermione's, as both shared the ambition to be the top students at Hogwarts. Interestingly, Rowling also compared Mafalda to Rita Skeeter in terms of excessive curiosity and the willingness to gather interesting information by any means necessary, including some that bent the rules. In fact, Rowling later admitted that she gave some of Mafalda's personality traits to Rita Skeeter when it became clear that this character wouldn't appear in the books. Another interesting fact is that Mafalda was meant to join the Golden Trio, and her being in Slytherin wouldn't have been a barrier to that. Initially, Harry, Ron, and especially Hermione were suspicious and distrustful of Mafalda, but she proved herself by giving them important information about the Death Eaters, which she learned from Slytherins who occasionally bragged about the successes and achievements of their fathers in the Slytherin common room. Initially, Mafalda was a fierce rival to Hermione, often annoying her by using less than honest methods to achieve her goals, while the Golden Girl always followed the rules and discipline strictly, which sometimes gave Hermione the urge to punch Mafalda. However, everything changed after Mafalda provided crucial information to Harry, turning the trio into a quartet. As for Mafalda's surname, it's assumed that it would have been Prewett, and it's likely that Mafalda was the granddaughter of Ignatius Prewett and Lucretia Black, making her the niece of Sirius and Regulus Black. Though it's also possible that she could have been related to Molly's side of the family. After The Goblet of Fire was published, Rowling admitted that she regretted not including Mafalda in the story, as she believed the character would have been quite colourful and memorable. Mafalda was supposed to be a highly gifted, unconventional girl who would have become a notable character in the Potterverse by the age of 11. And although Mafalda remained only a part of Rowling's drafts, this example shows how layered and detailed Rowling's work on the Harry Potter universe was. Some characters and storylines didn't make it to the final version of the books, and the film adaptations lost even more detail. Many important chapters that gave deeper insights into the characters and events didn't make it to the screen. It's time to remember those book chapters that the movies completely ignored and discover what the viewers missed. Chapter The Other Minister, Half-Blood Prince, Chapter 1. The chapter The Other Minister in The Half-Blood Prince stands out from the rest. It starts unexpectedly, not with Harry, but with the Muggle Prime Minister. This is one of the rare moments when the magical world intersects with the ordinary. The unusual dialogue reveals new horizons to readers. The Muggle Prime Minister, busy with his affairs, suddenly encounters something strange. Cornelius Fudge appears right in his office. In the hands of the Minister of Magic lies the entire wizarding world. "We are in troubled times, sir," Fudge says, causing the Prime Minister great concern. This conversation immediately immerses us in the heart of events happening outside the Muggle world. The Prime Minister hears about the escape of Sirius Black and the return of Voldemort. All the information about the wizarding world is a mystery to him. But this isn't just a conversation. It's an important moment where readers see how events in the magical world affect Muggles. Muggles, in essence, become victims of a war they know nothing about. And then Fudge introduces the new Minister of Magic, Rufus Scrimgeour. Strict, composed, and ready to act, Scrimgeour is nothing like his predecessor. He won't sit idly by, thinks the Prime Minister. This is the first time readers see someone capable of truly standing against Voldemort. But the chapter isn't without irony. The Prime Minister, used to political crises, doesn't know how to react to news about magic. "You always bring bad news?" he complains to Fudge. It's funny, but at the same time, it underscores the seriousness of the situation. Magic penetrates the most unexpected places. Unfortunately, this chapter didn't make it into the film. The main reason is the lack of action. Films need movement, emotions, and battles. Here, there's only dialogue. Though rich in information, viewers demand something visual. Long conversations like this rarely find their place in adaptations. Another reason is the focus on Harry. The films almost always follow him. Stories that diverge from his path, like this chapter, often get left out. The audience wouldn't have seen the connection to the main plot, so the filmmakers chose to concentrate on key events. Nevertheless, this chapter provides an important understanding. The Muggle and Wizarding worlds are more intertwined than they seem. The danger threatens everyone, not just the wizards. It reminds readers that the conflict with Voldemort is global. While the films did an excellent job with the adaptation, the loss of chapters like The Other Minister deprived viewers of a deeper dive into the world. This scene shows that magic is not just fantasy, it's real and has consequences for everyone. Chapter Will and Won't, Half-Blood Prince, Chapter 3. The chapter Will and Won't in The Half-Blood Prince starts with a striking and unexpected visit from Dumbledore to Privet Drive. In the film, this moment is reduced to a simple conversation outside, but in the book, it's much more dramatic. Dumbledore steps into the Dursleys' home, causing them to freeze in fear and indignation. Dumbledore immediately makes it clear that he didn't come just to collect Harry. He addresses the Dursleys with sharp criticism. "You treated Harry in a way that no one deserves," he says with cold fury. These words, filled with suppressed anger, finally give Harry a sense of justice. Everything he endured for years is finally being called out. For Harry, this is a long-awaited moment of truth. Dumbledore continues. He not only defends Harry, but also criticizes the upbringing of Dudley. "You didn't just mistreat Harry, you spoiled your own son," he adds, which comes as a real blow to the Dursleys. Dumbledore doesn't raise his voice, but each gesture and word cuts to the truth. This scene isn't just about a confrontation, it's a symbol of protection. For the first time, someone from the magical world stands up for Harry against the Dursleys. For Harry, it's a victory. He's not alone. Dumbledore confirms that his life with the Dursleys was a mistake, and it won't happen again. In the book, this moment is a true catharsis. Dumbledore makes the Dursleys feel their guilt. It's not just a visit, it's an act of justice. And for Harry, it's long-awaited support. He's no longer the boy who can be ignored. Dumbledore is there, and from this moment on, Harry feels that strong and loyal people have his back. In the film, unfortunately, the scene with the Dursleys was cut. Instead of the tense dialogue and condemnation, Dumbledore simply meets Harry outside. This emotional peak from the book was lost in the screen version. The reason is simple: time constraints and plot simplification. But this loss deprives viewers of an important moment. This scene deeply reveals Dumbledore's character. He's not just a wise mentor. He's someone who won't tolerate injustice. He isn't afraid to stand up to the Dursleys and speak the truth. For Harry, this moment shows that Dumbledore isn't just a headmaster. He's a protector. By cutting this moment, the film deprived viewers of an important emotional connection. We don't see how much Harry needed this protection. In the book, however, this moment emphasizes that Harry is finally not alone, and now he has a powerful force ready to fight for him. Chapter Christmas on the Closed Ward, Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 23. The chapter Christmas on the Closed Ward. In Order of the Phoenix is one of the most emotional and crucial for character development. Unfortunately, it was left out of the film, even though it reveals Neville's deep pain, which often remains in the background. Harry, Ron, Hermione and Ginny go to St. Mungo's Hospital to visit Arthur Weasley, but instead they stumble upon a tragic part of Neville's past. In the hospital, they unexpectedly run into Gilderoy Lockhart, the former Defense Against the Dark Arts professor who lost his memory. Lockhart, who still believes he's a great wizard, is now a shadow of his former self. This scene is both amusing and sad. His condition evokes pity rather than laughter. But what follows is much more heartbreaking. The group encounters Neville's parents, Frank and Alice Longbottom. Tortured by Death Eaters, they were left mentally incapacitated. Neville regularly visits them, although each visit is a painful reminder of their condition. His mother, not recognizing him, hands him a sweet wrapper, the only thing she can offer her son. Neville, trying to hide his pain, accepts it, knowing his parents are lost forever. This scene unveils a hidden side of Neville. Beneath his awkwardness lies a deep tragedy. The loss of his parents has made him strong, though few notice it. In the hospital, he is just a son who has lost the most important connection with his parents. This moment allows us to understand Neville better. He is a brave and resilient person, shaped by his personal loss. The emotional bond between the characters also deepens. For the first time, Harry realizes that he is not the only one carrying such a heavy burden. Neville has parents, but they are mentally absent. For Harry, this is an important moment. He realizes that Neville bears a weight just as heavy as his own, strengthening the unspoken connection between them. St. Mungo's Hospital is a reminder that even magic has its limits. The mental wounds of the Longbottoms cannot be healed by a spell. They, like many other victims of the war against Voldemort, remain symbols of how deeply dark magic can destroy lives. The scene in the hospital shows the price not only heroes, but also their families pay. This chapter was excluded from the film. Why? The scene is too emotionally heavy and slow-paced for a movie. It doesn't drive the main plot forward, but it's emotionally profound. The film chose to focus on action and pace. However, this omission deprived viewers of a key moment that explains who Neville truly is. In the films, Neville is left as a simple, awkward student. But without this scene, viewers miss out on his true strength. He is not just a side character, but someone who has borne a terrible loss and hasn't broken under its weight. Without the meeting at St. Mungo's, this side of Neville remains unseen. Christmas on the Closed Ward reveals a new dimension of the Harry Potter world. It's a reminder that even in a magical world, there are things that cannot be fixed. It's moments like these that add depth and genuine emotion to Rowling's books, making them truly special. Chapter The Lion and the Serpent, Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 19. The chapter, The Lion and the Serpent. From Order of the Phoenix is a burst of emotions and tension. At its center is the Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Slytherin. It's not just a game, it's a clash between teams, personalities, and of course Ron, who plays as a goalkeeper for the first time. In the film, this moment is cut, but in the book, it plays a crucial role. Ron is nervous. It's his first match, and the weight of the team's success is on his shoulders. The Slytherins immediately sense this and begin to taunt him. They compose a humiliating song about Ron, intentionally undermining his confidence. He misses several goals, and the taunts grow louder. Harry, as always, plays as the seeker, but he can't ignore what's happening to Ron. The pressure mounts, and Harry knows that to save the team, he must catch the snitch. Meanwhile, on the field, the tension rises not only between the players, but also between personal enemies, Harry and Draco Malfoy. Harry catches the snitch. Gryffindor wins, but the joy is short-lived. Malfoy, unable to handle defeat, starts insulting Harry's and Ron's parents. "Your mother's too fat to ride a broom," he sneers, mocking Molly Weasley. This becomes the last straw. Harry and George explode in rage. They attack Malfoy right on the field, turning the match into a brawl. Professor Umbridge seizes the opportunity to punish them. She suspends Harry and the twins from Quidditch for the rest of the year, confiscating their brooms. This is a low blow, not just for the team, but for them personally. This chapter is important not just because of the game. It marks a moment of growth for Ron. He battles his fears, knowing he could let everyone down. While the match didn't go perfectly, Gryffindor's victory is a small personal triumph for him. It gives him hope and a sense of belonging in the team. Additionally, the match highlights the ongoing rivalry between Gryffindor and Slytherin. The conflict between Harry and Malfoy escalates to a new level. This isn't just a game. It's a battle of emotions that reflects the deep divide between the two factions at Hogwarts. The films decided to cut this moment to focus on the main plot. Quidditch takes a back seat, as there isn't enough time to cover everything. But by doing so, viewers miss out on an important episode that shows the vulnerability of the characters and how emotions can overwhelm them. The Quidditch scene isn't just for fun. It symbolizes the characters' struggles with themselves, their internal fears and frustrations. It shows how pressure can break even the strongest. Chapter Rita Skeeter's Scoop, Goblet of Fire, Chapter 24. The chapter Rita Skeeter's Scoop. In Goblet of Fire is a real bombshell. Rita Skeeter publishes an article revealing that Hagrid is half giant. In the wizarding world, giants are feared and hated, and Hagrid finds himself on the front lines of this discrimination. In her article, Rita describes Hagrid as a dangerous monster. Society reacts harshly. Hagrid receives threatening letters, and the fear of his giant blood intensifies. For the first time, we see Hagrid so devastated. He locks himself in his cabin, hiding from the world, his confidence shattered. Harry, Ron, and Hermione immediately come to his aid. They find Hagrid broken by the public's judgment and convince him that he is not a monster. "You're Hagrid, and people love you for who you are," Hermione says. Her words restore his faith in himself, and he decides to return to work despite the insults. This scene is about true friendship. Friends don't abandon Hagrid when he's at his lowest. They don't see him as a monster, even if the rest of the world does. Harry and his friends' support becomes key for Hagrid, helping him overcome the humiliation. But there's more to this. The chapter raises the serious issue of discrimination in the wizarding world. Giants, like other magical creatures, face prejudice. Rita's article fans these fears, and Hagrid becomes a victim of racism. This is not just Hagrid's personal tragedy. It's a reflection of a broader societal problem that rejects those who are different. This scene reminds us that even in the magical world, there are prejudices. Giants are seen as dangerous, and that frightens people. Hagrid becomes a symbol of this discrimination, fighting not just against public opinion, but also against his own self-doubt. Why was this scene cut from the film? It doesn't drive the main plot. Too many events require attention: the Triwizard Tournament and the rising conflict with Voldemort. The filmmakers chose not to focus on the theme of discrimination, instead highlighting the key plot lines. However, this omission reduces Hagrid's depth. In the film, his giant heritage is only briefly mentioned, but the emotional weight of its revelation is left out. Viewers don't see how hard it is for him to cope with the judgment. Rita Skeeter's scoop isn't just a scandal. It's a story about how prejudice can destroy a person, but it's also about how true friendship can heal, restore faith, and help someone stand strong against hate. Chapter: The Beetle at Bay. Order of the Phoenix, Chapter 25. The chapter: The Beetle at Bay. In Order of the Phoenix is a mix of romantic drama and a real fight for truth. It starts with Harry's disastrous date with Cho Chang. Instead of romance, there's tension. Cho, still grieving Cedric's death, feels insecure. Harry, confused by his own emotions, can't find the right words. When he mentions meeting with Hermione, Cho explodes. Their date ends in tears and an argument. A bewildered Harry heads to the Three Broomsticks, where Hermione, Luna Lovegood, and Rita Skeeter are waiting for him. Hermione has cleverly lured Rita, knowing the journalist might help expose the truth about Voldemort. But Rita agrees only on her own terms. She's still sarcastic, but understands this is her chance to return to the game. Hermione proposes a deal. Rita will write an article about Voldemort's return, and Luna's father will publish it in The Quibbler. Rita, though reluctant, agrees. "I don't care who's right," she quips, but the plan moves forward. This is a moment when the fight for truth becomes real. For the first time, there's a chance to tell the world about Voldemort, despite the lies spread by the Ministry of Magic. This scene raises an important theme: how information is controlled and who is willing to publish it. Once again, Hermione shows her determination and sharp insight. Luna, with her eccentricities, brings a sense of lightness and philosophy. Rita is like the beetle on a string, willing to do anything for a sensational story. The chapter also reveals how far the characters are willing to go for the truth. Hermione knows the world must hear it, and to achieve that, she's willing to work with people she doesn't fully trust. It's a scene about manipulation and cunning, but also about how vital it is to speak the truth, even when no one wants to hear it. This chapter was cut from the movie. The reason is simple: lack of time and a focus on key events. Harry and Cho's romantic complications are minimized, and the political intrigue with Rita was pushed to the background. The story unfolds differently. However, without this chapter, an important moment is lost. This isn't just a quarrel or manipulation. It's the moment when the truth about Voldemort could finally break out. And here, it's Hermione who becomes the key figure driving the plot forward. The Beetle at Bay is not only Harry's drama, but a symbol of how information can change the course of events. It's the moment when the fight for truth reaches a new level, and the characters are ready to do whatever it takes to expose the lies. Chapter: The Return of the Marauder. Goblet of Fire, Chapter 27. The chapter. The Return of the Marauder. In Goblet of Fire is a key moment where Harry, Ron and Hermione secretly meet with Sirius in Hogsmeade. Everything around them seems mysterious. The disappearance of Bartemius Crouch Sr., strange events at the Quidditch World Cup. Sirius, returned in his dog form, becomes a source of vital information. Sirius doesn't waste time. He tells them about Bartemius Crouch Sr., a strict, severe wizard known for his methods in fighting dark magic. But his life fell apart when his son, Bartemius Crouch Jr., turned out to be a Death Eater. This reveals to readers that even heroes can be full of secrets and tragedies. The scene deepens the political intrigue of the magical world. Sirius explains how the strict father, who sent his son to Azkaban, eventually became a victim of family tragedy himself. This isn't just a personal story, but a reflection of the dark side of power and reputation in the wizarding society. Sirius also shares information about Bartemius Crouch Jr., who was once close to the Death Eaters. These conversations foreshadow one of the story's biggest twists, that Bartemius Crouch Jr. escaped from Azkaban and is hiding under the guise of Mad-Eye Moody. The sense of unease grows. This chapter reveals the dark mechanisms hidden in the wizarding world. Politics, manipulation, and family secrets all intertwine. The meeting with Sirius is a reminder that behind the facade of the Ministry of Magic and Hogwarts, dangerous intrigues lurk. Why was this scene cut from the film? It all came down to time. The movie's plot focused on bigger events, the Triwizard Tournament and Voldemort's return. The meeting with Sirius, though important for the political line, wasn't central to the cinematic adaptation. However, by excluding this chapter, the films deprived viewers of a deeper understanding of the Bartemius Crouch story. It's one of the most tragic and complicated storylines, showing how easily power and cruelty can destroy lives. This context was lost in the film. For Harry, this meeting with Sirius isn't just an exchange of information, it's a moment of closeness with the only adult he trusts. Sirius is his connection to the past and his support in the present. Each meeting with him reminds Harry how much he needs family. The Return of the Marauder is not just a meeting with Sirius. It's a dive into the complex political games, family secrets, and the magical world full of intrigue. The chapter shows that the fight against Voldemort is not only about magic, but also about hidden forces that no one speaks of openly. Chapter The Riddle of the Locket, Half-Blood Prince, Chapter 20. The chapter The Riddle of the Locket. In The Half-Blood Prince opens the dark history of Tom Riddle. Harry and Dumbledore delve into the past to witness key moments in young Tom's life. One of the most important scenes is Tom's meeting with Hepzibah Smith. This elderly witch possesses two significant artifacts, the Slytherin Locket and Hufflepuff's Cup, both of which later become Horcruxes. Tom charms Hepzibah with his politeness and charm, but beneath this facade lies cold calculation. He murders her to steal the magical items that will become part of his plan for immortality. This moment demonstrates how Voldemort uses people to achieve his goals without a trace of remorse. Another crucial memory is adult Tom's meeting with Dumbledore. Tom requests to become the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts. But this is no simple job application. He aims to cement his influence in the school. Dumbledore, sensing his true intentions, refuses him. By now, Tom is no longer the charming young man, but fully transformed into the cunning and dangerous Voldemort. These scenes reveal Voldemort's motivations, his thirst for power and immortality. It's here that the significance of Horcruxes becomes clear. His willingness to kill for them shows the extent of his cruelty and how each murder further fractures his soul. The Horcruxes, specifically Slytherin's locket and Hufflepuff's cup, are not just magical artifacts, but symbols of Voldemort's obsession with eternal life. This is his first step towards achieving his dark and twisted form of immortality. Why were these scenes cut from the movie? It's largely due to the difficulty of integrating flashbacks into a fast-paced film. Such memories could have slowed the plot and detracted from the main story. The filmmakers chose to streamline these moments to maintain momentum. However, the films lost an important opportunity to explain why Voldemort became who he is. The movies present him as a villain, but fail to fully explore his fear of death and hunger for power. The scene with Dumbledore also highlights their long-standing struggle. Dumbledore sees Tom not just as a young wizard, but as a looming threat. This is their first serious confrontation, foreshadowing the future battle between them. The riddle of the locket is not just a memory, it's a window into Tom Riddle's mind. We see how his desire for power and fear of death shape him into the Voldemort we know. Chapter: The Seer Overheard, Half-Blood Prince, Chapter 25. The chapter: The Seer Overheard. In The Half-Blood Prince is a pivotal moment that changes Harry's understanding of Snape and his role in the larger story. It begins when Harry unexpectedly runs into Professor Trelawney, who, slightly drunk, recounts the day she delivered the prophecy that foretold the battle between Harry and Voldemort. This prophecy set in motion the events that led Voldemort to hunt down the Potters. The shocking revelation for Harry is that it was Snape who overheard part of this prophecy. Trelawney reveals that Snape relayed the prophecy to Voldemort, leading to the tragic death of Harry's parents. Harry realizes that Snape wasn't just a mysterious and antagonistic professor, he played a part in the destruction of his family. This moment shifts everything. Snape is no longer just an enigmatic figure. He is, in part, responsible for the events that shattered Harry's life. But behind this guilt lies immense pain. Snape has been living with the consequences of this mistake, trying to atone for it by protecting Harry, the son of the woman he loved and whose death he inadvertently caused. Harry is devastated by this discovery. He sees Snape in a new light, not merely as a betrayer, but as someone who also suffers from the consequences of his own actions. This revelation explains why Snape's story is so tragic, and why he has been such a complex character all along. This chapter is crucial to the entire series. It shows that Snape's actions are not only motivated by his love for Lily, but also by his guilt over her death. It adds layers to his character, showing that his protection of Harry isn't solely out of love. It's an attempt at redemption for the worst mistake of his life. Why was this scene cut from the movie? Likely to simplify the story. The film adaptation focused on Snape's love for Lily, which is easier to convey in a visual medium than the internal conflict and guilt that drive him. It was simpler to show Snape's emotional motivations through his memories rather than his role in the Potters' downfall. But without this chapter, viewers lose a key element of Snape's story. His motivations are reduced to just love, though they are far more complex. Harry is not just someone he protects because of Lily, he is also a symbol of Snape's greatest regret. After hearing Trelawney's story, Harry views Snape differently. It changes the dynamic between them and adds tension and depth to their already strained relationship. The Seer Overheard is more than just a story about the prophecy. It's the moment when Harry uncovers the truth, altering his perception of one of the most crucial characters in the series. Thank you for watching up to this point. I hope this means you found it interesting, and if so, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel.